My name is Kez and this is my second trimester pregnancy diary. So I am one half of travel couple So To Be Found and this is my first baby. I'm actually in my third trimester right now, like well into my third trimester. I'm almost 35 weeks. But the second trimester was crazy busy and I didn't get the time to film this during, so I'm kind of doing it a bit retrospectively. I'm due the middle to the late part of November, so I have about another 5 or 6 weeks left, but if baby's a bit stubborn and late then we could be seeing a December baby. Out of all the trimesters, the second is kind of hailed as this nice break in the middle, like the honeymoon holiday period of pregnancy, where your symptoms aren't as bad, you're not supposed to be chucking up like you were in the first trimester, and you're not quite as big as you are in the third trimester, so things aren't as uncomfortable. I found that to be mainly true, to be fair. The second trimester is definitely the easiest for me, although it kind of did have periods that were a bit crappy and other parts that were fine. So the main symptoms I experienced in my second trimester was fatigue. So I thought that being tired was a first and a third trimester thing, and the second trimester would be a breeze and I'd have loads of energy. Whereas I found that the first sort of third of the second trimester, so the first month, I was really tired. The second month I was fine, I had quite a lot of energy and I got a lot of things done. And then the final month of the second trimester, when you're kind of tipping towards the third, I did start to notice myself kind of flagging a bit, both physically and mentally, like my brain just wasn't keeping up. I had really bad headaches in the first trimester, which thankfully cleared up. So I had a few headaches, but nothing to write home about in the second trimester. And I raised it with my midwife because obviously it can be a sign of other things to be aware of during pregnancy, like other conditions that may have developed, but because they went away, everything was fine, so that was good. The backache started in the second trimester though. So I've had issues with backache throughout the whole of my adult life pretty much because of boobs. They're not a blessing, believe me. And it just kind of built from that. So I started at a place where I had backache all the time, got pregnant, and then continued to have backache all the time, but obviously it just got worse because there was more than one thing straining on my back. I also had a lot more energy in my second trimester than I did in my first, which comes as no surprise because in my first trimester I was just moving between the bed and the sofa during the day, and that was it. That's as far as I got. So I had loads of energy. The one thing that I did really struggle with in the second trimester was my emotions. I'm not a particularly emotional person anyway, so I'm very black and white. Everything's either great or terrible and there's not much grey areas in between. So what you see is what you get, essentially. So for me, feeling quite out of control with my emotions wasn't very nice at all. That's probably the thing that I struggled the most with during the second trimester. As my brain started to kind of melt down a little bit and, you know, baby brain developed, which is genuinely a real thing. Like, baby brain is real. Your brain just stops being of any use whatsoever, and I'm definitely seeing it more in the third trimester now. But in the second trimester it kind of started off with me feeling very confused and out of control in terms of how I was feeling. And then I'd get frustrated because I was trying to explain myself, but I couldn't find the words or the right way of explaining what I was trying to say or explaining how I was feeling, which would make me more frustrated and more angry, and then I'd just lose control and burst into tears. So we probably had a period of about 2 or 3 weeks where I was extremely moody and just very unstable. So like one thing could set me off, but it would be the stupidest thing. Like, I can't even remember. I think I cried because I couldn't explain myself to Sam properly and was just like sobbing like something awful had happened, but it's just because I couldn't figure out how to explain what I was trying to say. I also had a meltdown one day because I felt sad that's literally it. I felt sad and I couldn't put my finger on why I felt sad. And then the more I kind of stewed and sat on my own feeling sorry for myself, and then I was then thinking about how this little one is one day going to feel sad as well, and there's nothing that I can do about it, and I just got really upset. So yeah, that was out of character for me. So the second trimester is the trimester of baby kicks. Everybody looks forward to the second trimester because typically first time mums will feel the baby moving from around, I don't know, 18 weeks onwards. I was very lucky to actually feel the baby very early on. It was night and I was in bed trying to go to sleep, and I was probably about 14 or 15 weeks. And then I just felt this odd little, like, bubbling, scraping sensation in my womb, and didn't really think anything of it. Kind of was a bit like, oh, that's a bit odd, not felt that before, but whatever. And then it happened again the next night, but this time it was like a definite swish. Like I described it to Sam as if I'd swallowed a goldfish. It felt like there was a little goldfish just hanging around in my womb, swimming around, and I could feel its kind of tail and fin like brushing against the edge of my womb. And that was the first time that I felt the baby moving. And then after that it got stronger and stronger, so by the time I was probably 16, 17, 18 weeks, I was regularly feeling the baby move. I'd feel it all the time when I was doing yoga, I'd feel it when I was trying to go to bed, and now it's a really strong moving baby. It doesn't stop moving, it keeps me awake. Obviously the bigger it gets, the less room it has, but the stronger it is as well, so you'll feel the knocks more often. I was very slow to show a proper developed pregnant belly. I would say that I probably didn't pop until around 24, 25 weeks. Before that, it was really easy for me to hide my tummy. So I could put on a loose fitting t-shirt or a hoodie or a jumper like this, and if it was baggy, unless you knew, you wouldn't really suspect anything at all. And then probably from around 26 weeks onwards, so like the last couple of weeks of the second trimester, my tummy just grew and grew and grew. I mean, I think it's big now, but everybody assures me that it's a very small bump, so it'll be interesting to see what size baby comes out at the end. We have been concentrating on the nursery a lot in the second trimester, so I'd originally set a deadline of September to get everything done by, so that meant a lot of the work needed to be done over summer. And we were kind of doing it in bits and starts, so we were trying to kind of drag it out for as long as possible, not because we wanted to spend longer doing it, but because we wanted to have the option of spending money on it like a bit at a time. We started off by changing the floor and repainting the walls, so luckily we just put the paint on, we put another coat of paint on in the colour it was already. We didn't change it or anything. And then we just changed the curtains. But the theme, because obviously we don't know the gender of the baby, it's a gender neutral nursery and it's all kind of like warm, earthy tones. So we've got, actually the wall colour is the same as the colour in this room, which is a kind of greyish off-white. And then there's pictures on the wall that are kind of like terracotta, rust sort of colour. And the blind at the window is a kind of taupe colour as well, because earthy tones, I read somewhere, earthy tones are supposed to be calming for the baby, and obviously they're gender neutral as well, so it works for us. On the topic of gender, we haven't found out what we're having. We had the option of finding out at the 20-week scan, and we were pretty adamant the whole way through that we're not going to find out. The only way to find out now would be to pay for a private scan, and it's only, another 6 weeks to go, so it's probably not much point. I have thought throughout this pregnancy that it's a girl, and the majority of people that we speak to, like friends and family, also think it's a girl. I'd say probably 90%, 85-90% of people that we that we ask, you know, what do you think we're having, we'll say a girl. But the further on in the pregnancy I've got, the more kind of doubt has crept into my mind as to whether we're having a girl or whether we're having a boy, and more people have kind of changed their mind as well. So it's probably a little bit more of an even split now as to whether we're having a boy or girl. We did do loads of old wives' tales, and, you know, just for a bit of fun, like the ring on the string and how you're carrying, and, you know, whether you're craving salty or sweet food and all those sorts of things. And a crazy number of those came out as a girl. Like, probably, say we did 12, like 10 of them came out as girl, lean, rather than boy. So, you know, we'll wait and see, I suppose. Like, they are all old wives' tales, so there's no science behind them, but it's just a little bit of fun. We also have names picked out. We had them picked out quite early on, to be fair, and they are, the way I describe them, we have a boy and a girl's name picked out, middle names as well, but we also have backup names in case the baby comes out and it doesn't look anything like the name that we've chosen. We settled on them quite early on, to be fair, and we agreed on them easily, so there was no kind of like arguments or one person really wanting a name and insisting upon it and the other person really not liking that name at all. So we're quite fortunate from that point of view, in that both of us found names that we liked, the other one liked them as well, and it's just kind of worked quite well. We're not telling anybody what the names are because, you know, we don't know what the gender is, so it's a bit pointless, and I don't like the idea of people kind of judging what the name of my baby is going to be before the baby's come along. I think once you've had the baby and you've named it, then they can judge away behind the safety of their own private front doors. But if you tell them what you're having and what the name is, then before the baby's even come along, they're a lot more likely to kind of be like, oh, well, I don't like that, or try to sway your opinion, or give you an opinion, and that makes you kind of second guess the name that you've chosen. That is it for my second trimester pregnancy vlog. Short and sweet. I will be doing my third trimester one very soon, seeing as I have, you know, a month and a bit left of my third trimester, and once the baby comes along, it's going to be absolute chaos. So I'll be doing one of those very shortly. Thank you for watching, and make sure you subscribe to keep up to date with the journey and the baby and our lives as new parents once that all begins, because that's going to be crazy. If you're on Instagram, head over to our Instagram page and give us a follow. I post on there regularly about travel, lifestyle, pregnancy, general day in the life of us being normal people in a normal relationship, and also head over to our blog as well. Thank you, bye.